candle, the Library of Alexandria, the day the world forgot itself. In the heart of ancient Egypt, near the glistening shores of the Mediterranean Sea, once stood a sanctuary of knowledge that dared to dream the impossible, to hold within its walls the entirety of human understanding. The Library of Alexandria, a name that still echoes with awe and mystery, was not merely a building. It was a temple of thought, a beacon of light in a world often consumed by darkness. Founded in the early 3rd century BCE during the reign of Ptolemy I Soter, a general of Alexander the Great, the library was meant to fulfill a singular, almost divine purpose: to collect every book, every scroll, every scrap of knowledge known to humankind. Legend says that any ship entering the harbor of Alexandria was searched, and if a manuscript was found, it was copied by scribes. The copy returned to the owner, the original added to the library's growing treasure. It was an idea born from ambition, the kind of ambition only empires dare dream. The library became part of the larger Malseion, an institution dedicated to the Muses, the Greek goddesses of art and science. It was more than a building. It was a living, breathing ecosystem of scholars, philosophers, poets, and scientists. At its peak, the library may have held hundreds of thousands of scrolls, some estimate up to 700,000, covering medicine, astronomy, literature, history, mathematics, and even technology far ahead of its time. But the story of the library is not only a tale of glory. It is a tragedy, one whose full truth has been lost to time. Crossed swords, fire, and silence. The destruction of the library did not happen all at once. Rather, it seems to have been a slow death, a fading light extinguished over centuries. And here, the mystery deepens. Who burned it? Who erased the dreams of 1,000 minds? The first suspect in this historical whodunit is none other than Julius Caesar. In 48 BCE, during Caesar's civil war, he pursued his rival Pompey into Egypt. There, entangled in the politics of the Ptolemaic dynasty and his fateful meeting with Cleopatra, Caesar found himself under siege in Alexandria. To protect his fleet, he reportedly ordered the harbor's ships to be set on fire. The flames spread, perhaps unintentionally, to the docks, and possibly to the warehouses where scrolls were stored. Some accounts suggest thousands of texts were lost in the inferno. But was this the fire that destroyed the library? Many historians think not. The main library may have survived, at least partially. It is possible that only an auxiliary storage building, perhaps a copy room or shipping depot, was damaged. Still, the incident marked a turning point. The library began to fade from prominence, not just from flames, but from the shifting tides of empire. Classical building, the rise of intolerance. In the centuries that followed, Alexandria fell under Roman control, then later Christian rule. The empire that once worshipped the gods of knowledge turned its eyes toward the heavens, and began to regard the pagan philosophies of the Greeks with suspicion. In 391 CE, the Christian emperor Theodosius I issued a series of edicts banning pagan practices. Temples were closed or destroyed. Some scholars believe that in this cultural purge, what remained of the library, or perhaps its successor, was attacked by Christian zealots. The Serapeum, a temple that may have housed part of the library's collection, was destroyed. Books were likely burned and scholars scattered. And then there was Hypatia, the brilliant female philosopher, mathematician, and astronomer of Alexandria. She was born in the late 4th century CE, a shining symbol of rational thought in an increasingly hostile world. Her tragic death in 415 CE, brutally murdered by a Christian mob, signaled the end of Alexandria's era as a city of reason. By then, if the library still existed, it was merely a shadow of its former self. Mosque a final blow? Some point to the Muslim conquest of Egypt in the 7th century CE as the final death knell of the library. According to a controversial account written centuries later, Caliph Omar allegedly declared that if the books in the library agreed with the Quran, they were redundant, and if they contradicted it, they were heresy. Either way, they were to be burned. The story claims the scrolls were used to fuel the bathhouses of Alexandria for 6 months. But most historians dismiss this tale as apocryphal, a myth crafted by later writers with political motives. By the time of the Muslim conquest, there may have been little or nothing left of the original library to destroy. Scroll what was lost, The true tragedy of the Library of Alexandria lies not just in its burning, but in what humanity may have lost forever. What secrets of the ancient world were written on those scrolls? What ideas, political, scientific, spiritual, could have changed course of civilization? We may never know. Some speculate that the works of great thinkers, now lost, were once stored there. Entire books by Aristotle, plays by Sophocles, unknown histories of Persia, India, and even ancient China. There may have been maps of undiscovered lands, theories of astronomy centuries ahead of their time, medical knowledge now buried beneath the sands of forgetfulness. What if the heliocentric theory, the idea that the Earth revolves around the sun, had been preserved and known 1,000 years earlier? What if the engineering wisdom of the ancients had been passed down in full? Would the Industrial Revolution have come in the 10th century instead of the 18th? It's not just a question of what we lost. It's a question of who we could have become. Fire a cautionary legacy. Today, no ruins of the library remain. Not a single scroll. Not a fragment of its majestic halls. Its very location remains debated. Some say it was near the royal palace. Others believe it was integrated into the Serapeum or scattered among multiple buildings. All that's left is the idea, a powerful, haunting idea. The Library of Alexandria stands as a symbol of both human brilliance and human folly. It reminds us that knowledge is fragile and that empires, no matter how mighty, can be blind to the treasures they possess. But perhaps the spirit of the library lives on. In modern libraries, universities, and the digital archives of today's world, we are again trying to collect and share the knowledge of all humankind. It is a race against time and against forgetfulness. And maybe, just maybe, in every book we write, every idea we preserve, we light a small flame to honor the fire that once consumed the greatest library the world has ever known.